Hi everyone, welcome to ECOP Conversations. Thank you, Amber, for joining us today from the Maldives. Please, can you introduce yourself? Tell us about you, where you're from, where you're based, what are you working on right now?
So my name is Amber and I am in the final year of my PhD at University of Edinburgh. I say that I'm a social, ecological marine scientist because I work kind of across marine ecology, social science and climate science. And my PhD is looking at the question of how we can use marine management and fisheries management to not only support biodiversity, but to support the food security and the livelihoods of coastal communities, and particularly coastal communities that are very, very reliant on the marine resources for their lives. So my research is based in southwest Madagascar, working with traditional Vezo fishing communities. I'm currently in the Maldives assisting on a project with my research group from Edinburgh. I'm in the final year of my PhD, so I really need to focus on getting that finished and also getting my project Voices of the Vezo out in the open.
Yeah, before we go on to Voices of the Vezo, can you tell us about your experience growing up, your connection to the ocean, how you have come to be a PhD student in this quite niche area?
So I grew up in Oxfordshire in England, which is like I think it's one of the furthest places in the UK from the ocean.
Yeah, not very close to the sea.
But I always loved snorkeling and things on holidays. I actually had no idea what I wanted to do at university after my A-levels, and I went to fashion school. Both my older sisters were in fashion and I just followed in their footsteps. In the summer after my first year at fashion school, I went to Indonesia and I learned how to dive. And I came back and I thought, okay, I need to change paths. So I actually swapped to an environmental science degree, based in London. And one of the main reasons I chose this degree is because I had the opportunity to study abroad at University of Miami for a year. And at the time, I hadn't quite registered the marine science school at the University of Miami. I just thought as being in Miami for a year sounded absolutely great. But I got there. And I discovered the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Sciences, which is part of the University of Miami. It's just this amazing place on Virginia Key. And I just took as many classes as I could at this school. And it wasn't necessarily the classes, but it was kind of seeing and getting to know the professors. And I started thinking like, that's like a realistic dream. That could be something that I do when I'm older. And then I think there was this real light bulb moment when we had a guest lecturer. He was from the Nature Conservancy, and he talked about a project he was doing in the Caribbean where they were working with local communities to create or kind of to get input from local fishermen about marine protected areas. And he talked about going around the Caribbean and working with local fishermen. And that was a real moment of like, that's what I want to do. Then I went on and did a master's at Edinburgh in Marine Systems and Policy, and that's led me to where I am now. So I'm doing my PhD with the University of Edinburgh and working with Blue Ventures, who work with small scale fishers around the world.
Wow, amazing. So cool to hear that connection of your studies, seeing and believing that this is possible, and then you're just going for it. So this is literally what you're doing now. You're going out and taking research in the field in Madagascar of local fishers' experiences. So how are you collecting your data, and what is it like to be conducting field work in Madagascar?
So COVID obviously completely messed up all my plans to go to Madagascar. So I wasn't able to go from the very beginning of my PhD. I went for a couple of months, and then I just got back from 10 weeks there just before Christmas. And while I was there, I was doing a project called Voices of the Vezo. And this is a project that's going towards my PhD research, but also it's kind of its own independent entity, and we're trying to launch it as a storytelling platform. So what Voices of the Vezo is, one of the main activities we did was using a method called participatory video. And this is where you work with a group or community to create a short film about a specific issue. And the idea is that by making that film, you're kind of creating a platform for conversation within a community, and you're engaging and mobilizing that community around that issue. And so the main kind of original and main objective behind this project was that the marine ecosystem in Madagascar has really changed, like, beyond recognition over the last generation, as a result of climate change, overfishing, habitat destruction. But really that kind of transformation has gone underdocumented. Yet it is not only kind of an ecological crisis, but is a humanitarian crisis for, like, the thousands and thousands of people that are reliant on marine resources in Madagascar. And some of those people being the Vezo people who I work with. But the Vezo people, they have this amazing knowledge of how the ecosystem has changed because they, like, live it every day. So the idea of this project was to work with Vezo communities to help them document this knowledge. And then this kind of documented knowledge can then hopefully be used to help inform and mobilize conversations about locally relevant marine conservation and fisheries management.
Amazing. So many things coming up there. So when you say it hasn't really been documented, is there still a narrative within the community where people are exchanging knowledge and talking about these issues, but it hasn't necessarily made it out into a wider community? Or there hasn't really been anything that we might say is like, there's no reports, or there's no kind of anything down on paper documented, but it's very talked about.
So I would say that this kind of transformation of the marine ecosystem is definitely not unique to Madagascar. It has happened throughout the coastal tropics. And in these remote coastal fishing communities, often it's not documented because it is not within the culture to kind of be writing things down. Like, it is kind of more so in our societies. So there is knowledge within the community about how the ecosystem has changed. But something that came up while we were there is that specifically in Vezo culture, there was a big tradition of storytelling, but with kind of increasing technology, kind of basically increasing technology, increasing kind of opportunities to do other things, that storytelling culture is decreasing, which means that knowledge isn't getting passed through generations. So a feedback that we had from the participants that did the participatory video is that they were learning things about what the marine ecosystem was like when the elders from the village were kind of their age, that they didn't know. So through the kind of the participatory video workshops, we were kind of engaging the youth. We worked with youth in the village in this knowledge so that they now know it, and hopefully they can share it. And also we have it documented on video, and we play those videos back to the communities, and we're going to share them across Facebook, because that's what people in Madagascar use a lot, Facebook, as a way of kind of, as like sharing this knowledge and making sure that it's kind of supporting it not to be lost, let's say.
And did you work with the same filmmaking team throughout your time there, or did it change? And what are some of the characters that you're working like on a closer basis like?
So I worked with Blue Ventures. It was a partnership the whole way, so they were absolutely amazing supporting the work. And I worked with a local filmmaker called Symphorian is from a Vezo family. He first got into kind of marine conservation and marine space by attending, I think it was like an after school club that Blue Ventures put on, where they learned about the environment. And through that, he just got really interested in marine conservation. He started like making films from a really early age, and he's just kind of gone from there. So it was amazing to have him. Also, all the films were done in Vezo dialect, and Symphorian speaks amazing English, so he was the main translator. And there was some other people in the community who helped me just with the films in general. Yeah, it was really lucky to have that team. It was an amazing team.
Cool. And so this is just one part of your PhD project. And then have you had any other, I saw that you were also working with SES Explore. So have you got other things going on, or is it all kind of like flowing together, different projects within your PhD project?
Yeah, so SCS Explore, that was I was awarded the Sir Charles Bloys Explorer Award 2022, and that was to support the work of Voices of the Vezo. So it was really getting that award really was a motivation for me to not only make that work go towards my PhD, but to create something that is its own entity, that will have its own legacy beyond, just kind of what I'm going to write. So yeah, that was the SES Explorer Award. It supported my last 10 weeks in Madagascar. So yeah, very grateful for them and for Sir Charles Bloys for supporting me with that.
Amazing. And where do you see this work with the Voices of the Vezo going? So what have you learned from it, and how do you think it can be impactful in helping these communities adapt to what they're
That's what I'm asking myself at the moment.
It's part of the research.
Yeah. So the voice, like on a very practical level, the Voices of the Vezo films are going to be, we've got 7 films in total, all around 15 minutes. We're just in the process of kind of cleaning them up a bit, because they were edited and put together on over a very quick time scale, because we basically filmed the films in the community, worked with the youth group, and then we had a community cinema night within like a maximum of 5 days. So we're going through the films, we're kind of cleaning them up a bit, and we're putting subtitles on them. And so they're going to be released over the coming months on Facebook and YouTube. And then we also did a lot of interviews with fishers, which we filmed that weren't part of the participatory video films. We're going to be bringing kind of highlights and tidbits from those also. That will all be part of Voices of the Vezo. So yeah, that's the Voices of the Vezo on a practical level from this. I think what I learned from that trip is the power of kind of this participatory video as a way of mobilizing a community around a certain issue. For example, in one of the videos that we made, lots of people talked about the fact that they wanted, they thought that a no-take marine protected area would be good to support the fisheries. Like they recognize that the fisheries were declining, and a no-take marine protected area is something that could help that. And the fact that we got several people from the same village saying that in the video shows that there's support from fishers in the village, that they want a marine protected area. So the project didn't have time currently to kind of take it to that next stage of like, okay, well, what are we learning from the films? But I really see like the power that participatory video has for that. So hoping in the future, like kind of to take the films we've got, maybe even kind of grow from them and see what comes out of it.
Amazing. And also then in terms of being a researcher, this combination of indigenous and local knowledge and new technologies and media, this is super interdisciplinary. And is there anything that you have been surprised by, or any sort of advice that you would offer to other early career ocean professionals or researchers that are thinking like, how can I find an innovative, a new way to look at these issues and also involve people who are on the front line?
Yeah. So I was really motivated to do participatory video because it was a bit of an outcome of COVID, of having kind of nearly 2 years sat behind a desk doing kind of a PhD on an area and about people who I had no contact with, and I just felt so disconnected. And the idea of participatory video is like, okay, what can I do which is the exact opposite of that? Like, how can I involve the community as much as possible in my research? How can I be guided by them? And how can I do that in a way that is relevant to them? And yeah, writing reports isn't relevant. So kind of this visual film and the culture of storytelling, I think, meant that, yeah, participatory video allowed me to do that. So yeah, I would recommend other researchers, I think like if that's the kind of thing you're interested, definitely explore participatory video as an option, but also kind of just including communities in your work anyway. I think we are going down, and rightly so, we're going down such a road where we recognize the need to include the community knowledge, the traditional knowledge, to help inform science. So I think, and this is what I'm trying to do throughout my PhD, even if the community knowledge and information that I've got from that I've managed worked with the community to create isn't like kind of the center of what my research, what my study is, it's still informing it, and I still talk about it in the work. Yeah, so that's what I try to do. And also I think this is something that I told myself when I started doing this kind of moving away from, you know, traditional marine ecology and social research methods, was just to kind of be a bit brave and like put my foot over the line and just kind of take a risk, because yeah, if not now, when? Yeah.
And it's paid off, because you've got the support of, you know, this organization like Blue Ventures, who are like a global organization. So I think, yeah, it's paid off, and it's really exciting to see your work. And well, we really look forward to sharing the videos when they're when they're done.
They're coming soon, I promise.
Great. No pressure, but that would be great. I just wanted to ask finally about this project. What was the response from the communities when you were sharing them and they were watching themselves on video?
Oh, it was amazing, because like community cinema nights there are like super popular, because the villages, they might have like 1 or 2 TVs within the village, but like it's not a regular thing. So yeah, the crowds would be huge, the whole village would turn up, and when people saw kind of their friends, or maybe like an elder, like a significant kind of leader in the village, come on screen, they loved it. But I also they also, you could sense that particularly when the elders are telling these stories of like what the marine ecosystem were like, people were really listening to that. Wow. And there was one of the film nights, actually, when it was a slightly smaller crowd, so we had a bit of an opportunity to kind of have a bit of a conversation with them afterwards and ask them kind of what they learned from the film, or if they knew what the film was saying before. And yeah, it was positive, because I felt like they'd got a lot from it. Yeah, and from the participants that made the films themselves, just to like have that opportunity to like kind of learn all the things that they did about the ecosystem, the traditional knowledge from the elders, and then to have those films to share and say like, we made these. Yeah, I think it was really good.
That's amazing. Oh, congratulations. Yeah, so just bringing it back then, finally, just to wrap up, so we're entering into the 3rd year of the decade of ocean science, and I think your work is definitely going across a few of the different challenges. It's definitely working with local communities and looking at changing humanity's connection to the ocean into a more positive way, so that I think from the outside we can also learn from the people of the Vezo and their connection to the ocean, how dependent they are on it. So I guess my question is, how do you think we as early career ocean professionals can really join together and to use our kind of innovative and new and kind of our new generation of skills and expertise to create a better foundation of ocean science for people and for the ocean? Because it's been very fragmented in the past. I mean, it's a big question. You don't have to have the whole answer, but do you have any thoughts on that? Like, is there anything that you think, oh yeah, if we do this is going to make it a lot better?
I can talk from like my sphere of expertise, like of focus. Current focus is that Yeah, so I guess my work is focusing like small scale fisheries and tropical coastal ecosystems mostly. So coastal communities within the tropics, and but that those coastal communities include hundreds of millions of people, and those hundreds of millions of people are so reliant on the ocean for their food security and for their lives, and that means that they have the most to lose from the ocean emergency, from collapsing marine ecosystems, but it also means that they have the most to gain from successful conservation, from effective fisheries management. So by supporting and mobilizing these communities to have like locally relevant conservation which works in their context, we're not only supporting like ocean biodiversity, but we're supporting food security and the livelihoods of all these people in a sustainable way. So I think as a generation of ocean scientists and ocean professionals, if we can like do everything we can to work with those communities, amplify their voices, amplify their stories, make sure that funding is going in the right direction, work with them and support their to help mobilize like them as leaders, I think that is like a huge step forward in creating the ocean we want.
I really hope we can channel efforts in that direction over the next few years. And so how can people find out about your work and what you're doing at the moment, or what will be coming out from you soon?
Instagram's where I'm most active, and that my Instagram is amber_oceans_. And I also have a website, amber-carter.com, and a Twitter, amber_oceans.
Cool.
Yeah, so share any kind of voices of the Vezo things as well, they have their own platforms, but I'll put it on there as well.
Okay, great. We will share in the content as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.